Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Charles de Lastic and this channel is Developing Extraordinary. It's about developing an extraordinary mind, an extraordinary business and extraordinary wealth. Today's video falls into the wealth arena and it's the 5 most certain ways to increase your earnings. Okay, so without further ado, let's hit the intro and go forward. So, today's video is all around the 5 most certain ways to increase your earnings. Let's start with the first one. Number 1 is your writing skills. This is really important to improve because a lot of communication these days is done by writing, and the better you get at it, it's a long-term game, the more you're likely to earn as a result of having better written skills. Why? Because first of all, it gives you very clear communication. If you have clear communication, people who are receiving the communication appreciate it. It saves time, it saves effort, it saves people coming back to you, and you can spend more time on other productive work. So clear communication is important. Copywriting. Well, these days copywriting is a really important skill. It's quite difficult, I find, to outsource because only you know your business the best, and being able to write properly and effectively put those messages across to your audience is important. And therefore good copywriting skills come off the back of good writing. Copywriting is also about persuasion. So how do you make sure that you're writing persuasively? Once again, this is a learned skill, and there are books and there are videos and there are articles all around how to write persuasively, especially if you're trying to promote your company or your product and your sales. To help in this manner, because this website's this channel is around making sure that we're giving you value. It's not just about the intellectual side, it's practically how do you do it. So when you can improve your writing skills by using something called the Hemingway app. Google it. Basically you just upload your finished piece of writing into Hemingway. It looks at the articles. It's like an AI really. It looks at the articles and suggests ways of shortening your sentences and things like that and making it more clear. Then there's another app called Grammarly. Again, this is around making sure your punctuation is right, and the hyphens are in the right places, the commas are in the right places. Spelling, yes, Word will do that, but once again, in one app you can get all the commas and punctuation correct, and I think that's quite important to present a professional image for your writing. So, the second point now we're coming up with, may not surprise you to learn, is spoken skills. Again, very important. So we, as human beings, we communicate mainly by speaking. Certainly there's visuals and things like that, but how you speak and the way that you speak and the way that you communicate with people will have a big impact upon your long-term earnings. So first of all, it's about being clear. Sometimes people are very obtuse in their points. They don't make points very succinctly and be clear on what it is they're talking about and make their points in a sensible, calm, clear manner. So it's having clarity in your speaking. Your tonality is really important because people perceive you sometimes on how you speak. If you speak too quickly, they listen to you less than if you speak slowly. And speaking slowly sometimes keeps you calm as well. So if you listen to newsreaders, for instance, they speak slower than you would normally expect in a conversation. But it does increase your gravitas and gets people to listen to you more because you speak slowly and in a lower voice. That also helps. So it improves your gravitas. For sales, Speaking for sales is really important. Now, you may not believe you're in sales, but everybody's in sales. We're selling all the time. Every time we're speaking or trying to persuade somebody, whether it's your spouse or your children or a co-worker or a potential client, all of the time we're speaking to people to try and put across ideas or persuade people to do things, and therefore that is a form of sales. So sales training is really important in these areas because it helps you to achieve and persuade people and then help you to get what you want. Presentation. So anybody who generally moves up in their career will be asked to make presentations to other people in the company or to people outside the company. So presentation skills and public speaking skills are really important. Once again, if you've not done a lot of public speaking before, you can train on this. There's lots of stuff online, some even free courses and free online courses which help you with your public speaking, but there's nothing like the real thing, and starting in small groups and Toastmasters, that kind of thing, where really it's not mission critical if you get it right or get it wrong, and improving your public speaking skills is a massive skill base that's worth acquiring. Number 3, likability skills. Okay, is that a skill? Yeah, absolutely. If you look around, maybe at a group of friends or somebody in your company, and you see somebody that's likable, what is it that they're doing that other people are not doing? Well, it comes from being cheerful, it comes from a whole range of different things, but likability, once again, is a skill base that you can learn. It's something that I've had to work on. I'm not quite sure I've achieved it yet, but it's something that one needs to work on and move forward. So, it's important in teamwork. If you work in teams, as most of us do, then being liked by your teams has a big impact on whether you get promoted or whether you earn more. Listening skills, should that come under likability? Yeah, maybe it should have been a separate point altogether, but really it does. If you listen well, it improves your likability. Without doubt, people like people who listen to them because it doesn't happen that often. Last but not least, again, is sales. Once again, being likable helps with sales. In fact, if you're not likable, being good at sales is probably really, really difficult. So it's important once again, because I said everybody's in sales. Number 4, trustworthy. So trustworthy is like a principle, because can you imagine going through life not being trustworthy? Well, most people believe they're trustworthy, but they don't work at it. Okay? Why? Because they believe they're already trustworthy. But if I'm honest, the vast majority of people let themselves down. Why do they let themselves down? They're not organised. Because trustworthy, the essence of it, is your integrity. And your integrity is about keeping your word. And if you're not organised and you don't have a system and you're living a busy life where lots of different things are happening at the same time, you may say you're going to do something and you don't do it. Very simply, you're leaving the restaurant and you say, "Oh Jim, I'll call you tomorrow." Well, if you haven't made a note to call Jim, will you remember to call him tomorrow? You may do, but you may not. Okay, it's those kinds of things. If you haven't got a system and you're not very highly personally organised, it's very difficult to keep your integrity, and therefore that reduces your trustworthiness. It's a skill that's worth learning. Appearance. Okay, appearance, does that improve what? Your likability or your trustworthiness? Maybe a bit of both. But generally speaking, people like people who are like them, and if you turn up inappropriately dressed in any given circumstance, people say things like, "Well, it doesn't matter what other people think." Well, sorry, but it does. It sort of does matter, because in the end, we all work in teams, and other people's opinions of you does influence your earnings and your promotion and other things. So appearance is important. Pay attention. T skills. Okay, so this is a surprising one. What on earth are T skills? So this came from Google, and they estimated that because obviously they employ literally hundreds of thousands of people, and they employ right at the top, the cream of the cream really. It's more difficult to get into to work for Google than it is to get into Harvard, for instance. Okay, so what are T skills? So it's not T in the way that you're seeing it, it's T this way around. So what that bottom line is a whole range of skills. You're good at most things across the board and nothing really lets you down. You're a high level performer. But the upside down T, that line, is a skill that you're extraordinary at. Really, really good. You're an outstanding performer. That's going to make a difference to your long-term earnings, both the baseline and the extraordinary skill. But here's the slightly surprising thing from my perspective. You not only need to be multi-skilled and have one line, but I would suggest you go for two. Why two? Well, okay, if you're trying to be extraordinary or outstanding at any one particular skill, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because that's what everybody's trying to do, and therefore the competition makes the level of input you have to do to be in the top 100 of anything in the world is extraordinarily difficult, because there's lots of people trying to do it. But if you take two separate skills and you get extraordinary at both, well, it's which two skills, right? And therefore two people picking the same two skills is probably unlikely, providing they're reasonably competitive. So a friend of mine, for instance, he qualified as a chartered accountant, one great skill base, okay? But he's also pretty good in computers, and he also is very, very good at project management. So he puts in financial systems into very big companies, and because he's got both of those skills, he gets paid extraordinarily well. Because it's those two skills coming together that's quite difficult to find in one person. So look at that in that manner. For me, it's about my financial skills on the one hand and my business coaching on the other. Almost no other financial planners are business coaches, right? I know one other actually. So unusual. Then when you add in tax skills, so I actually put in 3 lines there, that makes a huge difference too. So really multi-skilled plus a couple of things that you're very good at, and bring those together will make a big difference to your earnings. Right, so all of these are long-term. People overestimate what they can get done in a year, but they totally underestimate what they can get done in 10. So by looking at these skills, identifying where you're not so good, where your baseline isn't strong enough, and you try and find ways of improving that skill base, that is going to definitely increase your earnings over the years. Investment in yourself is the best investments that you can make. Okay, if you enjoyed that video, thank you very much for listening. Please reciprocate if you got any value by giving us a like. If you like the sort of thing I've been talking about, subscribe to the channel. We'll be producing a lot more excellent stuff on this channel, or at least I believe it's excellent. But give us a like if you enjoyed it, and let's go forward from there. Thanks for listening, and goodbye for now.